Hello, my name's Tim Shoebridge. This video is brought to you in association with Cherry Audio. Cherry Audio, they got in touch with me and they said, Tim, would you like to try out one of our virtual instruments? And I said, yes, please, thank you very, very much. So the software I'm going to show you in a minute, I didn't buy it with my own money. This is a review copy. However, that said, this particular product is on sale right now for a ridiculously low price. It's only $29 US. So do check it out if what I'm going through here interests you at all. The software I'm talking about is called Mercury 4. It's Cherry Audio's own recreation, authentic and detailed recreation of the infamous Roland Jupiter 4. Yes, Roland came out with their own virtual instrument recreation of this synth not that long ago, but Cherry Audio beat them to it. I think that Mercury 4 was released September 2021, something like that. This is my first opportunity to get my hands on it, to play it. It's not going to be a full review at all. I'm going to play you a few sounds, give you my honest opinions about this software, and show you a few things you can do with it. That's what's coming up. I hope it's of interest to you. As always, thank you very, very much for watching. That's a lovely sounding filter. It really is. It sounds warm, it sounds analog, it doesn't sound digital at all, there's no stepping. Does it sound like a real Jupiter 4 though? That's the question that many people are going to ask. I personally don't know. I've never owned a Jupiter 4, I've never played one. It was a few years ago I had an opportunity to buy one and I turned it down. I'm really kicking myself now because used prices are going through the roof like they are for all vintage gear these days. I just have to trust Cherry Audio. They have an attention to detail. They have a wonderful, huge collection of vintage synths to call upon. The Jupiter 4 that they actually modelled their software on here with the Mercury 4, it's got a little bit of history to it, so do check out their website and read about the Jupiter 4 that was used here. And they've recreated it, I'm sure, as closely as they possibly can. But one thing I'm really blown away by this actual soft synth here, this plugin, is how warm it sounds. It really has got a beautiful tone to it. I'm really quite impressed with it. I'll just play a few of the presets that come with it. It comes with loads of really good presets. I think it's about 400 in total. Let's just play a few of those presets and then let's talk about the user interface. let's have a look at the user interface. There's something incredibly familiar about it. There really is. Now, part of the reason for that is that Roland really did standardize in terms of user interface across all of their synthesizers. They did a great job of that. But also there's something timeless about this interface, just the same as there is with a Moog Model D or a Sequential Prophet 5. You know, so many synthesizers in the intervening years between the Jupiter 4 and today have either copied those user interfaces or been inspired by them. You know, you can just walk up to this, sit down to this at your computer and just know what you're doing. It's a very clear and simple interface. Now, the original Jupiter 4, it came out in the late 70s, and all of the synthesizers that came out at that time have got kind of design throwbacks to organs. You'll see here that we've got a top panel with controls on and lots of sliders. We've got a performance section to the left of the keyboard, but then we've got quite a lot of controls along a front panel. And it took a few years before synth designers decided to move those controls up on top of the synth with everything else. Now, how Cherry Audio have coped with that with the Mercury 4 is we can see there the top panel controls, very, very similar layout, looking very, very similar indeed, I'd say, just a few tiny little changes. We've got the same performance section to the left of the keyboard, and then that front panel set of controls we've got here. Now, a lot of those controls are missing here because on the original Jupiter 4, a lot of those controls related to presets, and here with the Mercury 4, we have got a different, a more modern way of accessing presets up here, and obviously an awful lot more than just the ones that you would get on a Jupiter 4. So a lot of those buttons are missing from here, but we've also got over on this right hand side, taking up half the space actually in green, we've got some additional effects that weren't there on a Jupiter 4. The Jupiter 4 had the infamous in fact, Ensemble effect from Roland, which we can see here, but we've also got these additional effects, and I think it's a really good idea by Cherry Audio to add them because they really do round off the synthesizer and make the Mercury 4 a complete standalone product. And what they've done, which is really clever, is that they have, in terms of echo, they have modelled the original classic Roland Space Echo. So you've got the Space Echo algorithms here, and you know, you really would want to have a classic combination of Jupiter 4 plus Space Echo. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, it would have been a classic you know, pairing to make. So we have got the tape echo here. Now, in terms of the reverb, we've got three different algorithms. We've got spring reverb, plate, and hall. I won't go through everything here, but I'll do a little demo of these effects for you. And for me, I'm a big sucker of plate reverb, so we'll just listen to that first. So that's what's coming up. Just a little look at the effects inside Mercury 4. That's pretty dry. It's a good time to try out the effects. So we've got the reverb on. It's on spring reverb at the moment. Let's switch to plate, which is my favourite reverb, and let's listen to what it sounds like. Let's crank up the decay. And at maximum, it sounds like this. And you've got tone controls, so we can make it really dark or lighter if you want to. Reverb's really great, and the tape echo, it's on, but it's turned right down. So we have an ensemble effect here, which is obviously what we have in the original Jupiter 4. These effects have been added by Cherry Audio. I think they're a really good touch to add those effects. But the ensemble is the real classic Roland ensemble sound. So we have not just an on-off switch, but we've also got a control here taking it from mono to wide stereo, and it sounds like this. So this is without, and this is with. As opposed to, let's really listen to it without these effects. There's no depth control, but it's a really nice sounding ensemble effect. So while we've got the Mercury 4 here, let's have a look at the arpeggiator, because on the Jupiter 4 it was quite a unique arpeggiator, quite sort of tricky to get your head around, but by playing it makes a lot of sense. First thing you'll see here in terms of the controls of the arpeggiator is that there is no rate control here. The rate of the arpeggiator is controlled by this slider above it here, which is also controlling the sample and hold rate. So this is the slider to choose the speed of the arpeggiator. Also, you'll see that these are sort of like old style radio buttons, very old style radio buttons. You know, you can't have more than one of them pressed in at the same time, and you can't have any of them pressed in if you've got any of these blue ones. So as soon as I've got one of these blue ones pressed in, the arpeggiator buttons all pop out, and that's because they're mutually exclusive. You can't choose a mode to play your arpeggiator in. It is in its own little mono mode basically, so you can't be playing unison with detune or things like that while you're playing the arpeggiator. That's just something to bear in mind. Now in terms of how it works, we've got the normal things you might expect. We can play notes upwards in octaves, downwards in octaves, up and down, or there's random. There's also this here, and this is a Cherry Audio addition. And this is specifying what the top note is. Now the way that it works on the Jupiter 4 is, well, this is obviously the top note on a Jupiter 4. If you play anything in this top octave here, you just get that note repeated on its own. If you play anything in the octave range below it, you'll get that note and the one in the octave above it repeated. If you're playing in this octave range, you'll get this note and the one above it and the one above it, either going up or down or up and down or random, whatever you've selected here. It does sound a little bit tricky, so let me just show you. Now the reason why Cherry Audio have provided this ability to choose what that top note is because when you're playing it on a MIDI controller keyboard, you might have more than this many octaves, and it's really nice to be able to choose exactly where that top note is, as to where your repeating notes will start to kick in. So if we turn to my keyboard here, I have set this note here to be the top note, which means that if I play any note in this octave range, it'll just repeat itself, like this. But if I play any note in this octave range, it'll repeat itself and the one above, like this. And then that keeps on going down the keyboard. So here, if I play this note, it'll repeat itself and the one above and the one above. So that then begs the question, what will happen if I hold down those three notes together? Now the order in which they play is dependent on which I hold down in what order, but this will play once compared to this one playing twice, compared to this one playing 3 times, like this. You get these really interesting little rhythms going on. Right, so it's that time in the video where I give you my final thoughts, some conclusions if I can. What do I think of Mercury 4? Well, I have to say I really do love it, and I'm not just saying that not because Cherry Audio got in touch with me and said here's a virtual instrument, please check it out for us. Not because of that at all, because I'm actually really surprised at how gorgeous it sounds. It really does sound warm and analog. You've got the capability of applying some analog drift to the voices. It really does sound rather nice, and it's actually sort of like piqued my interest in a real Jupiter 4 now, which is bad news for me. I need to stay away from eBay and Reverb. But it really has. I really do love the sounds, and I haven't shown you a massive sort of variation with the patches that I've been playing because I tend to sort of like levitate towards pads and those kinds of sounds. But you can get so much variety out of what is actually a really simple architecture. You've got, you know, copies or recreations of the original factory presets that came with the Jupiter 4, and they really are not particularly good at all. And I think it just shows how far we've come with sound design and our sort of capabilities. But the presets that come with Mercury 4, they really do sound really very good, I have to say, really good. So what do I love about Mercury 4 apart from the sound? There's some simple things. You know, obviously we've got 16 voices of polyphony here. So it's really very usable. I love the fact that we've got the echo and the reverb as well as the ensemble effect. It makes the instrument sort of a complete standalone thing. You can just sit down and just play it. I love the fact that in sort of standalone mode, because it runs as a VST plugin, or you can just run it on your computer. I love that in standalone mode I can stretch it all the way across my computer screen, so make it really big and just play it. I don't have to worry about getting out my reading glasses, and even if I've got it shrunken down and small because I'm playing it as a VST plugin in my DAW, I love the fact that these different ways of zooming in. There's a little focus mode which I haven't shown you, which allows you to zoom in and move around the interface. These kinds of things are just really nice touches. I really do like it. But I mean, I think most of all, and this is a general thing, this is not just about Mercury 4, but as a general thing, what I've come to realise, having had the opportunity to play different instruments over the years, I'm really appreciating simplicity these days. I'm sort of like learning about myself, and I'm learning that I get an awful lot more mileage out of a simple synth with a simple interface and a simple architecture than I do really complex and feature-packed synthesizers. I levitate towards simplicity these days. That's what really allows me to be creative and get stuff done. And for me, the whole Jupiter 4 interface, it's simple, it's simplistic, it's natural, it's logical. It's really quick and easy to get in there and fiddle around with controls and make patches, and everything is there. You know, there's no hidden menu systems. If you want to know how they made one of these really gorgeous sounding presets, you just look at the screen. There it is. Those are the slider positions, those are the dial positions, those are the button positions. That's it. Everything is just there right in front of you. It's very simplistic and easy to see how sounds are made and how to make sounds yourself. That's the bottom line for me. It's the sound and the simplicity. Mercury 4, as I said right at the beginning of the video, it's on sale right now. It's only $29 US. Do check it out. I mean, I'm not a massive user of VST plugins. I have to say I tend to stick to hardware, but there are times when I need them and when I use them. And if I'm away from my studio and I've got my beaten up old MacBook in front of me, then something like Mercury 4 will cover an awful lot of ground. All the pads I might want, and leads and basses and stuff like that as well. So check it out. That's Mercury 4 from Cherry Audio. Until the next video, as always, thank you very much for watching.